And before I say anything else, I need to make perfectly clear that my motivation behind offering this amendment has nothing to do with the 8,472 emails that we all received today in support of Launch Minnesota. I have some prior experience with the organization with organizations who have done work through the help of Launch Minnesota. And yesterday, when I got back from our meeting, I talked with a good friend of mine, Larry Hosh, who used to be a member of the Minnesota House of Representatives and is currently executive director at the Greater St. Cloud Development Corporation. And in our conversation, he expressed his deep concern about the absence of the support for Launch Minnesota. And in our conversation, I thought a little bit more about it. The two things I think are especially important about this opportunity is that it motivates private partnerships and it inspires regional collaboration. Two things that Minnesota needs desperately, and two things that we are in a place to actually facilitate. Now, just in the last couple of years, the Greater St. Cloud Development Corporation has seen over $550,000 of private money go into supporting these tech startups just in the St. Cloud area. Private companies are giving money to help grow these kinds of companies, these kinds of industries, these kinds of opportunities. That $550,000 might not seem like a lot, but out in Greater Minnesota and out in St. Cloud, that's a tremendous investment. And without Launch Minnesota and the ability to leverage the resources of Launch Minnesota, that money wouldn't have come to those businesses, wouldn't be in supporting the kind of work that we need to have happen out in Greater Minnesota. And I urge you to think not just of the money that has come in, but the money that won't come in the future. And I understand that we have budget requirements and that there's a language of austerity in which we're operating. But we cannot compromise our present and end up compromising our future when it comes to the supporting technologies of the future and the new industries that we can have. And secondly, it supports or inspires and motivates different kinds of collaborations. I mentioned that I talked with some folks about this initiative a month or two ago, and I met with Ryan Weber at Great North Venture Capital. And we talked about how, using the resources and the opportunities that come from Launch Minnesota, he's been able to create connections between the St. Cloud State Math Department and all kinds of entrepreneurial spaces in Greater Minnesota. That in and of itself is a tremendous benefit. Anytime you're making connections between people who do math and the community, I think that's a pretty big win. Those relationships are profound. And not only in that specific space, but also the connections that have been facilitated between different communities in Greater Minnesota. So I've heard stories of some of the work that's happened with Alexandria, Fergus Falls, and St. Cloud are all working together to create a tech ecosystem to support entrepreneurship that branches these different regional areas and is bringing together people with expertise all throughout Greater Minnesota. So Chairman Pratt and members, I encourage you to think again about this specific initiative and to consider including it in our omnibus bill, because it's the kind of investment that we need to do. It creates relationships and it creates partnerships. And that's what we're here to facilitate, I think.